let me walk that one back again. Let me think of a better way to say that.
Please do. Take your time if you have to.
Well,
well, I'm seated. I'm hoping you're seated. I hope everyone else is seated and that our runners are as well. Because we are about to fire things up here.
and we are off. So, normally, this is where we would fumble around and talk about escape and try not to talk about pumping. But as we were just saying, it has been a busy 48 hours in the Link to the Past community. And for the first time in a few years, we have actually a significant new tech development that saves about 10 seconds in the run in Mire. And right now we're calling it... hold on one sec. I've got the game audio coming through my speakers. You can probably hear that.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, it's really interesting with this find in particular, because it's not that we don't find new things occasionally in this game, but usually when these things do happen, we find things that are on the order of frames here and there, you know. And, you know, sometimes it's just about maybe some item wrapping stuff here and there. And, you know, we don't ever get to talk about a new find saving multiple seconds. So this is a pretty exciting time for A Link to the Past.
Yep, and we're not the best at coming up with names, but I think for the first time we've got a cool name for the new tech, and we are, as of now, calling it Spooky Action from a Distance. And that name is courtesy of the best, Poor Little Pincus. But what you're going to be seeing, we have found a way basically to translate how the duck leaves the screen when you're fluting into a way to fire rod crystal switches that are a room away. And you're going to be seeing that in Mire. We have cut 2 entire rooms out of the run. We have taken the best possible Mire time from a low 7-minute. Now we have runners getting Mire times in the 650s. So it is. It's been about a 10-minute time save on pretty much everybody who's adopted this Strats Mire. So
10 minutes, you say?
10 seconds.
World record is free for absolutely anyone. Up for grabs, folks.
Words are difficult.
It does feel like 10 minutes though, doesn't it? Because you are just blowing past an entire room that we used to actually visit, and it wasn't even a particularly bad room or anything. I was actually kind of fond of that room because it had a cool little technique where you would deplete your last bomb and get a free switch to either, you know, the powder or fire rod. So but yeah, rip that room from ever showing up on the room sheet again, unless it's somehow involved in another category, I guess. But it's optional, you know. Not everyone is going to go for it. As far as I know, these runners will be going for it. I know at least EmoSaru will. Node's probably been keeping up as well, so we may see him go for the glitch as well.
Yeah, so we will, as we get to the Mire segment, we'll kind of walk through a little bit of the tech as it comes on screen, but it's pretty much the biggest development in Link to the Past speedrunning in a number of years. The last time saves this big were tree rupees and
maybe even spin speed.
Maybe spin speed, yeah. We don't get to talk about saving 10 seconds very often. So. Yeah,
so apologies if we do gush about it a little bit and do kind of talk about it a lot, but yeah, it's very exciting and we rarely get these opportunities.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to say about it for right now is it's actually been really great to see how many people in the community have been contributing to this. A lot of names that you either haven't seen a lot before or you hadn't seen at all have contributed to either setups or knowledge or tweaks to the idea or ideas about how to improve it. So it's pretty much been non-stop in the Link to the Past Discord for almost 48 hours now, and it's been quite the ride. So,
and look at that! All of a sudden, we're in the sewers, and we're almost done with Escape. Doesn't that feel good? So yeah, not a whole lot went on during these first 5 minutes here. We got some slightly varying health values, but these runners are not far apart at all, and the time difference even coming out of Escape here is going to be pretty negligible throughout the course of the run after they get through some of these other dungeons here.
Yep, and in the water rooms, we should mention that there is something that we're doing called pumping. Basically, it's the only movement tech that we have right now, little ways to get pixel boosts that are pretty useful in these watery rooms. So.
Oh, Emo getting the northwest key wrap, but handled it nicely. I am always scared to throw that boomerang because, unfortunately, if you time it just if you try to go, it's one of those things where you get punished as a speedrunner for trying to go too fast. If you try to boomerang that key too quickly, it won't actually get caught because of how things work when they're bouncing in the hitbox of that sprite. So, yeah. Cool stuff.
Node had to go on a little bit of a rat slaughtering spree there. Got about 6 of them jumping his way. But decent sub-6 escapes for both runners. And I think it is fair to say that both Emo and Kaz will be grabbing the Sanctuary Heart.
Fantastic safety, in my opinion. It only costs you 3 seconds, and it can save your life multiple times throughout the run.
And with that, we don't have to talk about Escape anymore. And we are on to Eastern Palace, the first of the 3 Light World dungeons. Eastern is, again, pretty much a test of your ability to move your elf. We still don't have the Pegasus boots, no dashing. So your top runners will separate themselves with optimal movement, entering doors cleanly, getting quick kills cleanly. Nice 20 drop.
Sorry. I saw it drop, and I'm like, is he just going to walk past that? And I think he saw it too. He's like, okay, I'm just going to boomerang this thing. So solid decision there by Node to grab those red rupees. It may seem insignificant now, but we'll explain a little bit later on the rupee routing and how that pickup will actually come into play and save him time.
Yeah, that's pretty much the real only good thing, you know, that you have to look forward to in Eastern is hopefully getting that 20 drop. Other than that, you just want to not make any mistakes and let it go as it normally does. So Kaz got the good luck out of the way early. But yeah, so we don't have the boots yet. We can't really dash. So everything in this dungeon, the way that you optimize your times is by making your movement as tight as possible, doing some pumping if you can, entering doors cleanly is a big thing, not nudging, not walking into doors the ways that you shouldn't. But coming up on Kaz's stream, we have the first real trick, so to speak, of the run. There should be 4 stealthos in this room, but Kaz is going to walk in a certain way, cause 2 of them to not be able to spawn, kill the other 2 while they're waiting to spawn, and he's out before I can finish talking about it.
It's one of the greatest things about A Link to the Past. Some of the rooms are just so short that you have to start explaining them a few rooms beforehand to even actually do it and get it across. But I think that was well done there. Yeah, that's really kind of like one of the first speedrunning tricks in this thing that you actually come across, and you can get some. If you do walk in correctly there, you can get some additional spawns there, which can slow you down just a little bit, but both of our runners got that trick nicely.
And then both runners also opted to pick up the first 5-arrow pot. It's optional. You can kind of gamble for drops from the Igors later on, but grabbing that 5-arrow pot costs less than a second, and it guarantees that you are not going to be out of luck when it comes time for Armos.
Yep, and Node displaying some more abuse of game mechanics here, and Saru is going on her screen as well, using those iframes that you get from bouncing off of that popo there. And right when the iframes run out is when we step on that switch that's underneath the pot there in order to grab the big key out of the chest there. Normally you'd have to actually dispatch of all the enemies in that room to actually take care of it, but using those iframes there lets us skip that entirely.
Yep. So both runners now have the bow and are going to proceed to the upstairs of Eastern Palace. Gonna grab this key here in the dark room. Node going with the 1/ strat, Emo doing the same. Very safe, consistent strat.
No rupee drops for Emo just yet. This is kind of one of the big differences we are seeing right now. But there are a few more enemies coming up here that do have the potential to drop rupees for Emo, so we're going to be rooting for that to happen, and hopefully they'll actually drop in her path as well.
Very good Zelda gamer rooms from both runners.
Yeah, very well handled. That is a very RNG heavy room, and that's all about just reacting to the patterns properly.
Side 20.
Oh, nice! Kiting the red Igor over as Node is finishing up the Armos quick kill here, but yeah, did get that red rupee drop. Very nice.
Good quick kill from Node. Emo following up with the same. And now Node with 35 rupees is going to be able to skip a red, yes. So we'll talk about the tree rupees coming up in a little bit, but 35 rupees sets him up to save a little bit of time after picking up the Master Sword. And we'll cover that coming out of Hera.
Indeed. So we're going to talk to Saha right now, grab the boots from him, and we finally get to go fast. And we also get access to a few more glitches, one of which is spin dashing. Just involves charging the sword and then releasing that spin and then hitting A on the very next frame, which puts Link into a glitch state where he can't swing his sword. But if he transitions from these stairs on the normal ground, he'll begin moving at dashing speed, but he can actually control his directions and everything. So one of the little tricks we use throughout the run on a number of screens, it saves on the order of anywhere from a few frames to about 1.5 seconds or more on some screens. But not really a huge time save over the entire NMG run, but a cool trick nonetheless.
Yeah, most of the time save from it, especially on that first screen where you activate it for the first time, you don't have to charge your dash 4 times to get through the screen. You can just move. So that's in the bigger screens it adds up. But here on the library screen, you see Node using one of the finer uses of it, saving about 30 frames to get spin speed into the library and possibly 30 more on the way out.
Yeah, Emo's going for it here as well. This one's a little bit tougher to save time on because your movement has to be really clean throughout that screen. And Emo's movement was really clean afterwards. The only thing I think I saw her do was maybe hold on to that sword charge just a little bit long, so she was maybe like walking with her sword held out just a little bit longer than she needed to. Maybe that lost her a few frames, but yeah, it's easy trick to actually lose time with. But if you're confident with your movement, you can definitely save up to 0.5 seconds there on it.
Yep. It's actually been a while since I've had a chance to sit down and watch Emo do a run. And the one thing I'm noticing now versus the last time I got to watch her about 3 months ago is how much cleaner her movement has gotten. I can clearly see an improvement in just a very short time on the overworld movement, on stopping and starting dashes cleanly, on entering doors. You can tell that she's actually been putting in the work.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of those little things that you start to notice as you do get better at the game. And you mentioned, starting and stopping your dashes at the right points, and that's actually incredibly important on a lot of these screens. You want to be starting your dash from as far away from your destination as possible, and then also ending it as close to your destination as possible, so that you are moving at that 4 pixels per frame for as long as you possibly can.
Yep, and speaking of dashing, we are now in the palace where you will be doing a lot of it. Desert has a lot of wide open rooms. It's almost as if Nintendo gave you the boots and then wanted you to use them.
Funny how they do that.
But So this whole palace, at least this first half of it, is all going to be about starting dashes as close to the first frame as possible, ending them at the right time, and not nudging. And that's where your time save is going to come, or time loss if you don't. Very nice cannonball room from Node, by the way. Alright, so Kaz has got his power gloves. Emo is going through the desert circle of pots, grabbing some arrows and getting her gloves. And then we will be on the way to the second half of desert. Let's see if Kaz does this optional spin speed here coming out of desert, and he goes for it. Uses a buffer to lamp to prevent himself from jumping off the cliff, and he is into the back half.
Yeah, very nicely done. That spin speed can save you about 40 frames. Is a very, very risky one because while you're in that glitch state from doing the spin dash, if you touch a ledge at all, you're going to instantly hop off of that because the game just thinks that you're pressing the A button. And so you're just going to go flying off that ledge and you're going to lose over a minute. So very dangerous spin speed, but caznode very smartly using the buffer to lamp there to stop himself before he does that.
All right, and another thing that you're seeing in some of these desert rooms is the runners are dashing straight through the key doors. That's a thing called key dashing. If you were lined up with a multiple of 4 pixels away from the door's unlock trigger, you can hit the trigger in stride in your dash and then go on through, and you can use items in the room like the torch Emo just used to kind of nudge yourself into position and get those free key dashes. Node is entering the Lanmola's fight, everybody's favorite boss. 3 worms, 16 hit points apiece. Take worms down to 0 as quickly as possible. And Node almost with the 2 cycle.
Yeah, he gets 2 worms dead in that second cycle here. Oh no, gets kind of a weird angle with that hop there and isn't able to finish off the last worm, but we'll clean it up there. Emo and her version of the fight. These worms, the distance that they actually will, the amount of distance they travel in the direction and everything is just all completely random. So after the first spawn point, you really have no idea what's going to happen here, so it's all about just reading and reacting. Emo cleans that fight up pretty well. I think that was a 4 cycle for Node and maybe a 5 for Emo.
Yeah, Emo got a little bit of bad luck on the first cycle. Had 2 good worms on the top, was able to get a good number of arrows in there, but the bottom worm just went straight down southeast, and it's very hard to catch up to that spawn and pattern. Kaz getting the grass guard on the way past the swamp screen means he does not have to worry about getting that bush guard at the Lost Woods. Nice thing to see that, but then dashes headlong into a pickle, so the game giveth and the game taketh away.
Yeah, indeed. It almost seems like the game is aware at times. It can sense your happiness levels or something. You know, if your mood just seems to be elevated slightly, it'll say, "What can I do to just put you back in your place a little bit and just humble you?" This game is very, very good at that.
We just saw Kaz, and now we see Emo doing another one of our Japanese exclusive. Oh no! All
right.
No. Okay.
We're good.
Fake flippers. Fake flippers is jumping into the water 1 frame's movement away from the transition. It will let you swim, but if you get hit in that state on a different screen, game over. In this tournament, you can save and quit and do some shenanigans to get back into the race because we don't want to see losses like that. But Emo, very risky swimming there, did not quite get into the warp and almost had a bad time.
Yeah, and now that we're past that point, I can safely say now that we have not yet had any brackets racers fall subject to getting hit during fake flippers. So nobody has had to actually go back to the bush and do that yet. We did have a few during the group stages, but nothing here in the brackets yet, and everyone's been able to handle that trick just fine.
Meanwhile, our runners have made their way, picked up an old man, and are on the Aggro Crag, Death Mountain, home of squirrels and awful RNG.
Do you have it, Screamo?
I do have it. I do have guts. I tried to get more Quirk on commentary, but she was not available, so I'm here instead.
Shucks.
So what you just saw there on Emo's screen and also on Kaz's, if you enter those warps on a certain, on 2 out of every 8 horizontal pixels of camera movement, you can actually shorten the warp animation by, I believe, 34 frames. And that's called a quick warp, and you're going to see that hopefully about just about every time that they enter a warp in the game. There are some you can't, but they'll go for everyone they can.
Yeah, there are quite a few throughout the game, and some of them are quote-unquote free, where you only have to walk in from one side or another, and the camera X position will be correct, such that you do get that quick warp, so hopefully all of our runners will be taking advantage of that. Looks like everyone going for boomerang base strats here in Hera.
Tile room, best room in the game.
Man, if only we could find a way to skip this using the new glitch somehow. It doesn't seem possible, but anything can happen, right?
We can only dream.
Because while I do miss that Meyer crystal switch room, I would not spare a second thought for the tile room if it were not a part of the speedrun.
Yep. And here in Hera, we are coming up on the first of 4 bomb jumps that you're going to see in the run. The first is here in the Moon Pearl room. You're going to see Caznode and Emo place a bomb, put Link between 0 and 6 pixels away from the edge of the hole, or I should say 1 and 6 pixels, and bonk off the wall there and use the combination of the bonk and the bomb blast to get boosted across the hole, skipping a minor puzzle that you're supposed to solve.
Indeed. Yeah, normally you'd have to go into this room above where Node is now and hit a star switch and fall down, but speedrunners have decided to just bypass that entirely, so I'm glad you corrected yourself on the 0 pixel thing. I was gonna say, like, that I think that may be your problem as to why you fall in that hole sometimes, if you think that you can be 0 pixels away.
Easy.
Meanwhile, Node at 2 hearts in the Moldhorn fight here. Okay, last hit here is going to go for some dashes. Okay, hold your sword away from the pit. Yeah, that was some sketchy stuff. Like, the hitbox and the calculations thereof while Link is dashing through and Moldorm is moving at the same time can not quite agree with what you would actually predict to happen. So it'd be kind of a strange fight, but Node was able to get through it without taking a fall or a death, which is pretty much the most important thing about this fight.
Emo having a pretty good fight as well. Got 3 hits in. There's 4, 5, and cleans up the worm.
Nicely done. Always good to see that worm exploding.
And we briefly covered it earlier. Now is the time to talk about tree rupees. So, what are tree rupees and how do they work?
Tree rupees are rupees that come out of a tree.
Thank you, Greenham.
Moving right along now. So Caznode is going to pull this tree here. He's going to get some blue rupees. He needs to collect at least 2 of them right here. That's going to put him at 44. And now what he needs to do at this point is kill 4 more enemies without taking any damage. The game has some counters that tracks these things and will give you a prize when you pull a tree based on what you've done with those counters. So as long as you've killed those 4 enemies and they actually die on screen and you don't take damage during the process, you will get red rupees out of the tree when you pull it. So Node sitting at above 44 rupees here will only need to collect 3 of those red rupees. So the drops that he got earlier on come into play a little bit here in the fact that he gets to save a few frames by skipping that red.
Emo getting
this strategy. I am not a fan, and this is exactly why, because this guy is just an expert in dodging arrows and wasting your time.
Pickle casts evade. It's super effective. Now, we saw Kaz got the bush guard on that swamp screen earlier, so he did not have to worry about getting that in this screen. Emo did not get the grass guard, so has to be careful when dashing through these bushes. Any of them can spawn a lonely soldier just waiting to take away your tree rupee route.
I like to think that he's not that lonely and that he's actually like made friends with all the woodland critters and everything. I mean, how else is he going to just, you know, chill in that bush and, you know, not get attacked or something? He's got to have made peace with the natives, right?
Man, he's got a sword. He doesn't have to worry about them too much.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So he's struck fear into their hearts, I guess. That's correct. But Node did get all the rupees that he needed, and he's going to get 6 more naturally here in Aga Tower in the Circle of Pots room, so that will get him to the 110 rupees that he needs to get into the Palace of Darkness, and Emo's going to be executing her final tree pull right here, collecting all 4 reds, getting the 118, good to go.
Yeah, Emo had an interesting strat for getting through the log right after the Master Sword. Normally there's a bird there that you want to kill, and to play safe, she went into the log with her sword held out charged, so the bird would just fly into her and die.
Interesting. I've not seen that before.
Me neither.
And I didn't catch it either the first time through, so I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to have to go back and watch it. Yeah, Node killed those guards with a dash there and didn't get any drops, which, again, doesn't seem that significant now, but we are a fan of setting things up that will pay off in the future. We like to make some sound investments in our speedruns, so just keep in mind that Node did kill those guards with a dash, and as a result did not get any drops from them. So the monkey, yes, for him to follow you is only 10 rupees, but in order to actually enter the palace, you need 100 more.
Yep.
But yeah.
Node having some fun on the bridge.
Okay, and Emo did lose her sword beams, but nice backup there to still kill those guards with a dash. And so by doing that, you actually force the drop rate for the prize pack that those guards are into 0. So that's why they don't drop anything. So you can kill any enemy with a dash, and that will be the case.
Yep. The only exception to that is enemies with force drops like keys.
Wow, imagine if that weren't the case, though. That would be kind of hilarious if you had to actually avoid killing some enemies with a dash. So you ensured that you got, you know, their key or whatever, so you could actually proceed.
Link to the Past, Chaos Edition.
I'm surprised we didn't see that in a Scudge ROM hack or something. It sounds like something he would do.
Don't give him any ideas.
Oh crap, too late. Oh no, Emo went for that key dash there, but unfortunately was a little too far left, I think, and ended up bonking as a result.
Yep. Meanwhile, Caznode has popped into Aghanim's party penthouse, where strange things are happening, and then he is going to have a fight with everyone's favorite wizard. And the Aghanim fight, of course, is the purest source of RNG frustration in the run. The Aghanim cycled fight is 5 attacks, leather, rinse, repeat. First is reflectable, second, third, and fourth are 50-50, either reflectable or not. Fifth is a lightning. And for every non-reflectable shot you get, you lose 6 seconds. Non-reflectables 3, 7, and 11 are an extra 6. But Node's just looking...
It's not even going to demonstrate what a blue ball looks like, it seems. I haven't seen any yet.
No, he has not gotten.
Meanwhile, Emo did get a little beat up through Aga Tower here. It can be kind of frustrating when you're going through the tower. Aga Tower is actually... deceptively difficult. Some of those rooms, especially the dark rooms and the dark maze and stuff. No getting out of the fight with only 1 blue ball. Very nice. Hopefully Emo gets reasonable RNG as well. But going back to what I was saying, it can be kind of difficult, you know, as you're kind of getting poked and prodded as you're making your way up the tower there, to kind of mentally stay in it and actually just keep on trudging through. But that's exactly what you have to do, and that's exactly what Emo is doing here. So hopefully get some favorable RNG as a reward, and then this gap will be maintained and not increased any further.
Yeah, I think that was a clean first cycle for Emo as well. Also had some static warps where Aghanim didn't even move, which is non-controllable time save. And there's one.
Aw. Let's not do this, Aga, could we? 2 sounds reasonable to me. Oh, come on.
Reverse.
The game giveth, the game taketh.
Good old Aghanim debated.
Yeah, Runner Watcher making a really good point. Node is on a really solid pace. His sword up was definitely sub 30 light world, which is a very, very good pace for his level and you know, any level around there as well. So definitely going to be keeping an eye on both these runners here.
Meanwhile, Emo is going to have a 30-48 light world, I think, if my math is correct, which is for a 130-33 runner a very good pace as well. So both runners are playing a very good match right now. Yep,
and I just checked Emo's splits plus 2.4 coming out of light world. So very impressive on that sword up right there. Definitely on a good pace for her.
30-47. But we are now in the Dark World where things start getting difficult. Everything, all the dungeons now will have either enemies or bosses that will hit for multiple hearts instead of just one or fractions thereof. And the movement gets trickier. It is the difficulty certainly spikes as soon as you get to Palace of Darkness.
And I just checked Node's split, and Runner Watcher did correct me as well. Node had a 28-59 light world. I'm not sure if he splits on sword up or when Aga falls, but either way, that is also a very, very solid time. He was about half a second ahead of his splits coming out of the Aga fight there.
Yep. And now all of those rupee shenanigans, Node and Emo have used their 110 to get into Pod. And Pod is the home of the second of our 4 bomb jumps, and probably the most difficult, the hammer jump. Also the one that, well, the one that saves the second most time. What you're going to see from Node is he's going to place himself on 2 specific y-axis coordinates, one to place the bomb and another to place Link in a certain position in relation to the bomb blast. That bomb is awfully far right. He's got to be careful.
Oh, no! There. Okay. I think that means one of the placements was too low. Is that correct? Or was that just a factor of it being too far over?
It could have been either or. I was really worried about that bomb placement, but he's 1 high, 1 low here.
Yep, I think he's good now. Nice, good recovery. Getting that second try, so not going to lose a ton of time to that, but that will give Emo just a little bit of an opportunity to catch up here if she has a really well executed hammer jump. And that, yeah, it's an intense trick. It's like you said, it's definitely one of the more important bomb jumps, and it saves a lot of time, especially in this dungeon. It can be very intense because the bridge that you're standing on is falling at the same time that you're trying to get these, you know, specific Y coordinate placements. So you'll see a lot of runners bringing up the start menu, and that's, you know, to facilitate 2 things. One of which is to check their position and make sure they're in the right spot, but also to pause the game and actually stop the bridge from falling and give them a little bit more time to actually set this trick up. So Emo getting the first placement. Looks like she's on the second one as well. Needs to buffer to mirror eventually. Not going to do it now, just smartly, you know, taking what she is given there, just, you know, doing 1 move too few on the menu there, but didn't realize it. Stuck the chest with 2 arrows. So I think she was probably just very, very focused on the actual cues as to where she was standing for the bomb jump, and wasn't necessarily looking at what item she had pulled up. So, yep, I've definitely made that mistake before. So, shoutouts to that.
I saw it coming, and then it happened, and a good time was had by all. Meanwhile, Node cleaning up the turtle room without any problems, and on his way to the Helmasaur fight, Emo making her way into Pod Mimics, but Helmasaur hits fast, hits hard, and is a good way to lose a run if you're not careful. You gotta bust this mask off with 17 hammer hits while dodging potential fireballs or tail whips. Node holding his sword out to help with the positioning, but he walks straight into Helma. Down.
Okay, the animation got canceled on that spin, so it kind of looked weird, but he did damage Helma there to finish him off.
If you kill Helma from inside Helma's hitbox, you know you've had a good time.
So Emo there, interestingly in the Mimics room, ran out of arrows, so had to snag a drop and actually pick up one of the pots as well. So costed a little bit of time there, but hopefully we'll be able to pick some of that up here. Get some bad RNG in this turtle party room with the turtles walking down to the bottom there. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that, unfortunately, so that's well handled.
Yeah, the turtle programming is actually a little bit bugged, and sometimes one of them just wants to... They're supposed to walk randomly. They tend to home in on Link, but sometimes one of them will just walk south.
I've heard they can even walk through walls.
Sometimes in pairs.
If they're lonely enough, anyway.
So, Node with a 3611 sword up here in Pod. Emo, meanwhile, hammering the mask, gets through the first phase. Now is going to drop... Looks like going to go for slashes to stay safe. One hammer, 6 slashes, cleans it up. Very nice fight for Emo. While caznode is dashing through the overworld and Emo is collecting crystal, one thing I do want to mention is Emo is one of the few racers that is playing on the new-ish analog Super NT, using a normal, probably using an SD to SNES, but it's the new clone console that came out that is actually provided a lot of people an easier way to stream since you don't have to deal with S-video and component or S-video or composite stuff. So I think she's the only one of 2 Super NT players in the tournament, the other being Giselle.
Yeah, I've seen a few runs come through on the leaderboards that have started using Super NT as well. So I've heard good things about it. It seems like even in terms of like the input lag and everything, it's really good.
So we had a 3611 sword up from Node, and we have 3729, so about 1 minute and 18 seconds separates them right now. And 18 of those seconds are just blue balls. That's 18 of those seconds were just nothing that anybody could do about it.
Yep, but it's part of the game, and it's something that every runner is subject to dealing with, so we don't hold any hands here. We don't give everyone the same RNG. Oh boy, this is a party.
Flipping.
That is reminiscent of Tej in the group stages where he had an adventure with Usain as well. So Node likely, well, I won't say likely, but Node has the option of bonking into a tree after he unlocks the bird here, and getting some apples out of it, and he can refill his heart's liquid that way.
And there is the first appearance of the duck that will make all of the magic later in the game possible.
It's funny to think that we didn't even initially care about the duck. We weren't even using the duck at all, but now the duck has a starring role in this glitch. So Node did actually skip past the apple bapple tree, as we call it. So he's pretty confident rolling into Thieves Town with 4 hearts here.
Yeah, Thieves, if you are well practiced, you shouldn't take a ton of damage, and you don't need, you shouldn't take any damage on the boss. So See if Emo can get through Usain Bolt. Also did not touch the flower with the spin speed, which is the visual cue that you want to use to get through safely, but got through without taking any damage. But Node's going to be coming up to a few rooms where those 4 hearts might come in. 2 hearts might come into play.
Oh my goodness. It is so scary when you cannot actually see those horse heads and you have no idea what's going on. So you're just kind of sitting there and waiting and just hoping that everything's going to be okay. Just chant, this is fine, over and over.
But picks up a safety heart there, and now is going to be entering the Hellway, which hopefully does not live up to its name.
Gets good RNG, gets the
Very
pixel,
nice.
Flies right through. Easy room. Who has ever spent more than like 5 seconds in the room? Come on. But yeah, that does require getting good RNG, which is obviously not in your control, but the only thing you can control is actually hitting that pixel in the middle where you can dash up properly. And these grasshoppers in the attic here don't look like much, but they do hit pretty hard. They do hit for 2 hearts. Luckily, Node makes it through there without taking any more damage, and he's already taken. Interesting that Node skipped that bomb there. I wonder if he does not do the double bomb strat in Ice Bounce, maybe? But Emo looks like she moved out of that key dash. Looks like she moved just a little bit left so that she wasn't actually lined up on that 4-pixel grid. But here is her attempt at the Hellway. Gets the RNG, does not find the pixel right off the bat. Makes some really good adjustments though on the fly. Nice dodge of the Fire Snake as well to not take any damage to there. That was nicely handled.
Yeah, unfortunately also got a good handful of lag frames there as everything started piling up at the top of the room. Meanwhile, Node can't stay away from the damage in this segment. Back down to 2 hearts. Blind, you shouldn't take any damage, but...
Shouldn't. It should be noted that he's actually already picked up the safety heart right before Blind as well. He took that the first time he came through this room to kind of stay safe throughout the rest of the dungeon, but we'll not have it for this fight. The fireballs that are going to be shot out from the heads only do 1 heart of damage, but if you run into any of the heads or Blind himself, that will do 2 hearts and will kill Link. So let's hope this fight stays on script. It's looking good so far.
Very nice.
Yeah, super clean. Yeah, and this is still going to be 42-46 catch for Node, so definitely still a solid pace for him.
Yep. Meanwhile, Emo is making her way through the jail cell to pick up the maiden. It's not really a maiden, but is the boss of the dungeon in disguise.
Why can't it be both, though? It's still a maiden at heart, right?
You know,
That's why it takes that form in the Dark World.
You know, I've been calling Blind she, but then I went back and was reading the official Nintendo Power Strategy Guide the other day. And Blind is referred to as a he, but you know who is a she? Mothula.
No kidding.
Mothula is a she in the official literature.
I guess they're going for that, like, Queen Moth, Queen Bee, or something like that sort of thing. I don't know. Interesting. Thanks for the lore, Scribbler.
I bring the lore. Not much skill or ability in general, but I do know lore.
That's not to say that you don't provide a lot of good quality content for clips. But Emo working her way through the blind fight, gets a little off script in the third phase here, but able to clean it up nicely. Yeah, as long as you get through the first 2 phases of the blind fight pretty much on script, and you're relatively healthy, even if something does go kind of slightly wrong in the 3rd phase, you're going to be generally okay in cleaning it up after that.
Yeah, it's not the best if blind goes down to the bottom, but it's usually pretty easy to clean up the fight without taking a ton of damage. Meanwhile, Node has saved the frog that cannot jump, lazy frog, and turns out that that frog is actually a skilled blacksmith who is now going to provide the only sword upgrade, only optional sword upgrade that we're going to get.
And he was just trying to escape and live off the government dime. You know, he was collecting that unemployment check in the dark world, and you just had to go and rescue him and bring him back to his job. And he has to be a productive member of society again. Terrible.
No fence dash for Node. Bailed out of it.
That's very that's important. That could come into play later. It could definitely affect him mentally. You know, he's gonna know at this point that everyone else knows and has seen him miss the fence dash. So that's got to be weighing on him immensely at this point.
Meanwhile, Emo has got her frog, and Kaz is on his way into Skullwoods. Now, the one thing you may have noticed is that we did Thieves a little bit early. It's traditionally the 4th dungeon as the game expects you to play it. But getting Thieves Town lets you... Ooh, stuck mummy for Kaz.
Yes! Oh my gosh, I love seeing that so much. That is the only good thing about this room, is seeing stuck mummy.
But getting through Thieves lets us get the Tempered Sword. Tempered Sword makes all the bosses from here on out that normally you wouldn't have the Tempered Sword for a lot easier. Moth, Argus, you know, so getting the Tempered Sword as early as possible is definitely a valuable thing.
Yeah, indeed, and it's not going to help you on blind, because regardless of whatever sword you have, blind is always going to take 9 hits, so that's why we get it right after that point.
Meanwhile, Node hitting the 3rd of our 4 bomb jumps here in Skullwoods, and getting beat up a bit.
Yeah, but still taking the intentional fall here. Emo's attempt at the fence dash. Oh, she bonks, but still followed through, so I'm going to give partial credit for that at least.
At least Emo went for it.
You know, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
The math checks out.
Okay, so Node coming into the back half of Skullwoods here with 4 hearts. Can be a little sketchy. Any of these mini mold arms are obviously going to do 1 heart of damage, I believe. These Gibdos do 2. And then in this next room here, which I think is actually more difficult than the Mummy Hellway, which Node is expertly making his way through, showing off some item dashes there. Handles that mini mold arm just fine. Doesn't look like he's going to take any damage.
Emo just killed all the mummies in the statue room.
Good, they deserve to die. I'm not a fan of those guys at all.
No, but, dropping into the moth fight?
But that's, yeah, generally killing all those guys is going to take a little bit more time than you like to use in that room. Nice moth fight overall from Node, though.
48-12 crystal catch for Node. And a nice bomb jump for Emo.
Bonking over the hole here, so she's not actually going to have iframes walking out, and you see the difference there in that Node just got to walk out with his iframes and walk directly through that ropa. Nice fairy drop from the bush there too. I think that's is that a 1 in 8 chance from one of those bushes there? I think something like that.
I believe so, but it also kind of underscores that she took the bonk, the slower exit, to try to conserve health. Oh, the beetle just died.
The self-destructing beetle. It's so good. Just doesn't want to be one of Ganon's minions anymore. He's like, you know what? I see what you're trying to do here, Link. I support your endeavors, let me just get out of your way, okay?
So Emo makes her way to the back half of the skull. Takes a safer approach to the mummy hellway. But it does not pay off. Takes a hit from one of the Gibdos.
Yeah, it was just maybe slightly mispositioned there, a few pixels to the right, it looked like, and ended up getting clipped by one of those Gibdos, but recovered very nicely. And only down 2 hearts here, getting controlled a little bit by this mummy who didn't quite stay stuck on the spike there. But can be falling into the moth fight after picking up a small magic pot there. Should give her one more fire rod shot, which is kind of nice to have in this fight, actually. Sometimes if moth is staying up there on the spikes, you can use the fire rod to kind of coax him down a little bit. Nice, very nicely done, well handled.
Now, as Kaz is making his way through the Ice Rod overworld, we don't have his audio, so we won't be able to tell until he gets into ice. But you might see the first minor application of the new tech that we found. This one doesn't quite save 10 seconds. Instead, it saves about 4 frames. If we could hear Kaz's audio, we would hear whether or not he plays an extra flute after... I'm on the wrong segment talking about that, aren't I?
No, you're not. He's just already past that point where he would have fluted. So, yeah. If we did have his audio, we may have heard it. Yeah, on that screen where he initially fluted to Link's house. If you use the flute again there, the whole point of why we're messing with the duck at all and where he leaves the screen is that there are certain slots in this game that hold data about what things are on the screen at that time. So when the duck is on the screen, it puts it into a particular slot and it says, okay, the duck is at this altitude, and it stores that there. And so when the duck leaves the screen at a certain position, that value stays there until it gets overwritten or cleared by something else. So by playing the flute and not capturing the duck and not having him pick you up, you're actually forcing that value to 0. We do abuse it to set it to some other values for the mire setup, but for the Ice Palace setup, what we do is we just play the flute and let the bird fly off screen without ever picking him up, and that will set the altitude variable to 0. And so what's going to happen here when Node walks into this first room of Ice Palace, he's just going to shoot this fire rod very quickly. It's going to displace. Yeah, it didn't look like he went for it, but he would have shot it, and it would have actually caused the AOE effect to happen at whatever that altitude variable is set at. And so if it's set at 0, I'm pretty sure it's just going to happen at the top of the room. But we can actually manipulate it and set it to other values, which will actually let the AOE of the fire rod, the area of effect damage from it, actually hit things in other rooms because of the altitude variable being at such a high value that it actually offsets where the damage, or the game thinks the damage, is taking place. And so we can use that to hit crystal switches that we can't even see.
Yeah, having the variable set to 0 means that the AoE effect is actually going to be centered on where the fire rod hits, because it does math based off of where the fire rod hits, -8 to get to the center of the fire rod hitbox, -0 for the altitude. So by having it set to 0, it centers it on the center of the fire rod explosion.
A nice setup there by Node in this conveyor spike hellway there to intentionally take damage and put him on a pixel, so he just dashes through the middle of the room. Does the Ice Palace bomb jump, which is a very significant trick that lets us skip a lot of the dungeon. Requires some very precise placements for both the bomb and Link to get boosted across that gap, and Node had a pretty much perfect one.
Yep. Emo with a very good water dash there in the Zora's domain. And smartly stopping to pick up that heart drop from the crab.
Ice physics are fun with a PH, because it requires a PhD to actually figure out what the heck is going on.
Was that it? Was that a...
I don't know what that was. I honestly don't know. Like, I think I've just been hanging around you too much is the deal.
I don't want to take credit for that one.
It's good. It's not something you should take credit for. take the blame. How about that?
Using the fire rod in the second room.
She's fine. She only used 2 shots so far, I believe, so she doesn't need any extra magic pickups, but you do need full magic at the end of this dungeon, as Node is currently demonstrating, since you need to deplete that entirely with the fire rod in order to actually get rid of Cold Stare's shell. And then he does a little poke dash, a spin, and a few more slashes to clean up those puffs.
Yep. Yeah, as we get later into the game, you can kind of start to see some of the newness shine through on Emo's run. You know, rooms like the Penguin Switch, where didn't seem entirely comfortable, was just kind of slashing the penguins out of the way. The double bomb room, the bombable floor, where she got stuck on the corner after placing the first bomb. You start to see the difference between experience and inexperience, and just the little bits of movement and tech in those rooms. Like this Ice Palace bomb jump, she pushed herself all the way back up against the wall. Luckily, still got into the right position, but just the little bits of knowledge that you might not yet have when you've only been running the game, at least from an NMG standpoint, for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, there's just so much in this game, and so much minor detail in almost every single room that you encounter, and so it takes a long time to get to that level of experience and actually, gain that knowledge, because there are things that, people that have been running this game for 4 or 5 years even still don't know about, and we'll discover, and somebody will mention it in a chat or something. You're like, wait, that's a thing? I didn't know about that, so it's a game that's almost impossible to know everything about, but I think that's one of the things that makes it so compelling, especially as a speedrun, because you don't really ever get tired of it. There's always something to learn, something you can discover about it. So
Emo almost got
yeah, did you see that? Okay. Yeah, that was really close. It was a good thing that she just kept holding down throughout that entire thing, because you can't actually get that block stuck in such a way to where the door will be closed and you won't actually be able to progress through there without going back upstairs.
Yeah, the Link pushing sprite is the best sprite in the game. Shoutouts to Mike the Viewer, who makes me smile every time I see him go live. If that is his Twitch icon.
Node has 0 bombs here rolling in the swamp. That's why I kind of remarked about him not picking up that Thieves Town bomb earlier, but there are backups that you can pick up here in Swamp, and they're really not going to lose you a ton of time, so really not a big deal at all. That first one he picked up kind of has a cool swaggy strat where you get to hammer dash down through those spots, so it's always fun to pick that one up.
Yeah, so here in Swamp is supposed to be the second dungeon that you get to. So as opposed to Ice Palace, where you are supposed to also be picking up an armor upgrade and things are going to hit hard, here in Swamp, they're expecting you to not have a tempered sword, not have quite so many hearts, not have some of the equipment you have. You're probably not going to die in here unless things go terribly wrong. But it is a lot of rooms that are difficult to optimize, and basically where you're going to gain and lose time is RNG and the tightness of your movement.
Alright, so Emo is going to be doing a little bit of a shopping trip here before she goes into Swamp. Going to be picking up the Ether Medallion and most likely the Ice Rod right afterwards. You'll see some runners actually grabbing Ether and Ice Rod during the Mire segment. This can be a little bit dangerous, as Death Mountain is particularly dangerous and full of RNG. So we really don't mind so much taking damage during this segment, because Swamp is really not that bad, as Screw was kind of saying. You're not really worried about dying because everything does such low amounts of damage. So taking damage in this part of the overworld isn't so as impactful when you're doing it in the Swamp segment, as opposed to Mire, where your health management is very important.
Yeah, not only do things not do a lot of damage, but there's at least one heart pot that's directly in the way. There are 2 more that are only about like half a second off the beaten path. And there's jellies that can drop hearts as well. So you're pretty set up for staying alive throughout Swamp.
Yeah, it looks like Emo just picked up Ether, so she'll either be getting Ice Rod perhaps during the T-Rock segment, maybe even during Mire. It really doesn't matter so much because it's kind of the same amount of time, regardless of when you do it, because we do have access to the flute, obviously, and we just fly there. Node getting a little bit trolled there by that RNG going for that hammer dash. That's why you kind of see even some top runners now not really going for many hammer dashes in Swamp, especially in that room right there. Those enemies in that room can just very, very easily get in your way and knock you out of the hammer dash that you're attempting.
By the way, you may have just noticed Emo do a little bit of magic there. The next of our Japanese 1.0 exclusive minor glitches, when pushing a block in a room where the mirror doesn't function, if you mirror during the block push animation, the block just disappears. So we use that to get through that first room of the water dam quickly. While Kaz has his hook shot, he's making his way through the back half of Swamp.
I'm curious if you'll actually even pick up this bomb or not. It's something we have to kind of consider and think about now is so the room that we're skipping in Mire that we've been talking about this entire time required us to use a bomb to actually get access to it in the first place, so not only has this glitch, saved us time in that particular dungeon, but it's also allowed us to skip a bomb in our routing if we so desire. So that's kind of a choice that I think our runners will have to be making as to which bomb they do end up skipping.
A lot of them are opting. Well, let's see how this Argus fight turns out. All right.
We're going to be going for the Fire Rod quick kill here. Saves about a second on this phase. If he gets it.
Very nice.
Going to. Yep, nicely done.
Yep. A lot of the runners are opting to skip a bomb in the Turtle Rock segment to make sure that they do have a bomb as a backup for Mire. But, of course, as people get more comfortable with the spooky glitch, we'll see how the bomb routing evolves. Emo having a little bit of a party with that Stelphos there in the crystal switch room. And now that we are on Mire, we're going to start paying attention to what Kaz is going to be doing to set up. We'll see right away as he flutes to 6 whether or not he is going for the new glitch. So first he's going to stop and pick up Ether. He may also choose to get the Ice Rod in this segment. Probably will.
Yeah, I would imagine he's going to be collecting both of those items here on this segment, and then, like you said, once he does flute over to 6, we're going to see him pick up the rock that hides the warp to the Dark World from the bottom, and that is going to change where the duck actually flies off of the screen, and that is going to get us the value that we want. So you'll see that after he picks up the Ice Rod. Yeah.
For anybody that may have kept track of some of the glitches in Super Mario World and how they talk about loading sprites into the wrong slot or performing actions based off of misplaced sprite slots, we're taking advantage of that same thing here, and you see Node now picking up that rock from below. That causes the duck to leave the screen at a certain height, restoring that variable in a sprite slot. And then you're going to see later on, there's a room where he's going to place a block on a switch. And you're going to see him kick up dust before placing the block. That causes the dust to occupy a sprite slot, causing the block to go into the wrong sprite slot, and then that then will let the fire rod use some uncleared RAM from a different sprite slot. Wow.
This glitch is so easy to talk. It's much easier to execute than it is to talk about, that's for sure.
But it's going to use that altitude variable that is stored but not cleared using that math that we talked about earlier, fire rod placement -8 minus altitude, to basically cause the fire rod splash damage to hit something almost a room away.
Yep. Well explained, and I'm sure we'll get better at those explanations as we all get more familiar with the glitch. It can be like kind of weird to think about, and you know, how it was discovered in the first place was a really interesting story. And so shout outs to everyone who was actually behind all that. I believe Raspberry Floof was one of the members who kind of noticed something, and then Pinkus kind of looked into it a little bit more and found some stuff going on in the code that we could take advantage of. So yeah, really cool how this was even discovered, and then obviously the development thereof has just been really amazing to watch. But yeah, as you were saying with that Samaria block that you place, if we were to not kick up dust beforehand and just place that Samaria block down, it would actually put it into the sprite slot that we are trying to abuse. It would occupy the same one as the fire rod, and it would change the altitude variable to something we don't want. So that is why we have to kick up the dust before we actually place that block down.
Yeah, I went back earlier and watched like the initial attempts at utilizing this, and when we first found it and they were coming up with the initial setups based off of what we knew, it was actually pretty complex to actually execute. There's Emo going for it as well.
Yep, looks like she got the setup just fine. There is some play with how far left and right you can be, and that does actually affect the variable slightly. So you may have to stand just a little bit higher when you're shooting a fire rod in one of these rooms to actually trigger the crystal switch properly. So one thing to mention, this does make magic routing very, very tight in this dungeon, because if you miss any of the shots, you pretty much have to go for a backup. And so we're not quite confident enough yet, I think, to just, you know, completely do away with our old strats, because we will need to still fall back on them from time to time. But you're going to see Node right here kicks up the dust, places the block, so he should be good to go. In this next room here, he's going to shoot the fire rod at this spike block here, and it's not going to hit the crystal switch, but the game is going to think that it will. He needs to go back up to re-trigger it, yeah, because if you walk down too quickly, it despawns the crystal switch, so you have to walk back to actually respawn it and put it back on screen. Gets the glitch there, nicely done. He's got one more to go here. He's going to shoot this torch here in this room. Walk
Very
up
nice.
And it hits the switch. That is so cool. He just saved like 10 seconds there for free.
And then he lost 3 of them bonking and running into the anti-parry.
But it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh boy. Okay, he cannot go for any more damage boost at this point. He cannot get hit by anything whatsoever, and he has almost no damage on any of these eyeballs, so it looks like he's just going to be going for some spins. This is
not
sketchy.
good. This is
I don't know about this strategy.
Oh man, he's dancing. Watch out for the light.
Okay, so he's moving back on opposite sides of the room now. I feel like this is good, because sometimes you can get a lot of eyeballs grouped up on one side or the other. Okay. Oh, wow. So nicely handled. That was very sketchy, but making it out alive and showing off the new glitch, so shout outs to Node for doing that.
Okay. Breathe. Half heart vidi, not my favorite thing.
Shout outs to Sankheart.
Just gonna be totally honest, I actually would have preferred. I tend not to second guess runners with PBs 3.5 minutes better than mine, but I gotta say I would not have gone for the half heart Vidi strat.
It's bold, that's for sure, and I'm sure you'll have the admiration of your peers if you do pull it off. But yeah, that's a risky strat. So, interesting enough, that spike key room that Emo just got out of, there is another small magic pot in the top right of that room, so that can be a pretty good safety measure if you are going for this Fire Rod spooky action glitch here, because picking up that extra small magic pot will give you one more Fire Rod shot to play with, and if you miss one of those Fire Rod shots, all is not lost. As long as you hit something in the right spot, on your next firing, you'll be good to go. Oh, okay. Good thing Node had an extra bomb there. Got hit by one of those crabs and gets a bush guard. Meanwhile, Emo has her attempt at the glitch here.
Very nice.
Perfectly executed. Needs to move up a little bit in this room to hit the anti-fairy on the right side. Nicely done again.
Gonna Fire Rod the left side of the torch. Very well done.
Dude, perfect execution on both sides of the newest glitch in A Link to the Past. Shoutouts to these runners. Be sure, if you are enjoying the show and you guys like watching speedruns of A Link to the Past, to give both of these runners a follow, as Emo is destroying Vitreous right here. Takes out all of those eyeballs with no lightning whatsoever. Very nice fight coming out of Emo there on Vidi.
Alright, now Kaz is on his way into Turtle Rock, second to last dungeon of the game. But first, we are going to do the hottest puzzle this side of Cracker Barrel.
When was the last time you went to a Crackle Barrel, Steve?
A Crackle Barrel?
I want to know. A Crackle Barrel.
Sarah, when's the last time we went to... No.
Sir,
Fetch me my Hot Pockets.
Alright, so quick update here on the status of EmoSaru's splits. You all are going to want to hear this because as of now, after the Vitreous segments, 2 gold splits in a row, EmoSaru is now 1 minute and 19 seconds ahead of her 1:30:33 PB right now.
What?
1 minute and 19 seconds ahead.
Is she gonna cut me?
You should be scared, Scrivo. So yeah, while Node does have a pretty healthy lead here, Emo is on ridiculous pace right now. So please cheer on both of our runners here, who are putting on just a heck of a show.
I really want some Hot Pockets now.
You have like a Pavlovian response to it now?
Yep.
Alright.
So, we talked earlier about dashing through some guards to preserve a prize pack, and here in this room we're gonna see that pay off. No, we're not.
Scrivo, please.
Well, 2 coin flips.
Okay, that was actually kind of lucky there. Node was just on the edge of those pegs there. He did get hit by one of those chomps, but luckily did not get pushed off of the pegs, so he was actually able to get iframes when those pegs did come up and get through the chomps room there. Emo had a pretty rough death mountain, is down 3 hearts already. Node's health situation is a little bit concerning, but as you said, he does have those drops lined up, so hopefully they will be coming up if he gets the right RNG here.
By the way, the chat just pointed out that Emo switched her Ice Rod to Turtle Rock segment to kind of complete the new setup.
Okay.
So she still should be 39 seconds ahead.
Yeah, quite a bit ahead still, so didn't mean to get you quite so hyped up, but still a good amount of excitement deserved for this pace.
And of course, Emo also has her prize pack preserved, so we'll see if she can get the fairy drop from these first Pokies. First Poke singular.
It looks like, I didn't see it, but Node did get his fairy drop as he is sitting at full hearts right now. Gets the full magic here as well, so he's going to be comfy as heck going through the rest of Turtle Rock here.
Yep. Yeah, he got his in Poke 1 right by the door. Very nice awareness, knowing that he has sword beams, can do the optimal strat in Crystal Roller there.
Ooh, a good heads-up play by Emo here as well, mirroring out of the roller room, recognizing that she wasn't going to be able to get the timing to do the damage boost strat through the rollers, so just opting to take the safe mirror out.
Meanwhile, Caznode is riding the platform and heading towards the laser skip bridge. Emo gets the heart drop, the first in the prize pack. Doesn't get the fairy, but should still be set up.
Wow, I'm surprised Node didn't walk off the edge there. It looked like he was just a pixel or two off from falling. But nice laser skip there. Getting past the front part of the laser, which is the only part that actually has a hitbox. Oh, he's a little bit trolled in this cane dash strat because one of his cane beams hit the Helma and then dashes into an anti-fairy twice, but still quite healthy. Just needs to pick up the full magic here, and he's going to be heading into the Trinex fight.
Yeah, hopefully Emo gets that fairy drop here. Oh, gets the triple switch hit. Does get the full magic and the fairy. But does not quite avoid the laser. Meanwhile, Kaz is cleaning up this Trinex fight pretty nicely.
That combo that Emo just had is really annoying. When you get changed into the bunny and then you think you've baited out the laser, but then it fires again. And then all of a sudden you change back into Link, and that cutscene or the idle frames or whatever gives the laser just enough time to fire again. So it'd be kind of an annoying room if you get bunnied there, especially.
Yeah, and getting the spin on that Pokey a little bit too high to catch the switch 3 times kind of throws everything off as far as your timing and how you feel the room out.
Yes, absolutely it does. Some bad double Pokey RNG there. It's one of the worst patterns to deal with, but gets out of there without taking any damage at least. Pretty healthy. Going through the end of Turtle Rock here.
Yep, and now Kaz is on his way to the best dungeon in the game. Fight me on this, at me on Twitter. I will have this argument with you.
I don't know, I think Mire is like the new hottest dungeon these days. I think everyone might argue that it's just so cool. But I feel like that will die down eventually, and people will get over it and come to realize the true superiority of G-Tower. G-Tower is the truth.
It is pretty much the sum of all of the knowledge that you have as far as executing all the items in your inventory, other than the ice rod, because nobody cares about the ice rod. Knowing how to use everything that you've gotten. Movement is important. It is very fun to practice, very fun to execute well, and it can go downhill in a hurry if you are not on your game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you're saying, it's the culmination of everything that we've kind of learned throughout the game and the speed run. And as such, it's actually, I think it's the perfect dungeon to warm up with, if you're doing a run or a race or anything. If you just run through G-Tower once, I think you're going to be pretty good to go for your upcoming run. So definitely a good warm-up.
Emo going into the Trinex fight, goes with the backdoor strat, gets the firehead down. He's going to make quick work of the ice head here. Very nice. Takes 1 hit of damage, but plenty of hearts. Should be nothing to worry about.
I'll try to get a check on Emo's pace after Turtle Rock here. Should be synced up with her splits now at this point.
Seemed to be a pretty clean Turtle Rock other than Poke 1. and the 3 seconds from mirroring out of the rollers. Meanwhile, Kaz is making pretty quick work of the left side basement of Ganon's Tower. Theme of Ganon's Tower is Light World Bosses Revisited, and the first one that we're going to see is Armos. But with a twist, Armos is on ice. So you're going to see Kaz kind of line up here in the bottom right, fire 3 arrows up, 2 left, and then catch all the Armos on their rotation to kill them with Link standing by the door. It's very important to kill the Armos quickly and to get mirrored out of this room, because there is a ticking variable that will affect how the Ganon fight goes. But no problem for Node. And what does Emo's pace look like?
Yes, as is pointed out in the chat, Emo is over 50 seconds ahead. That is 50 seconds ahead after Turtle Rock. Sick pace. Definitely on pace for the sub 90. So let's get some go Emo go in chat. Ooh. Oh no, that was going to be such a spicy Mimics one, and then unfortunately the spike was the biggest bro of them all. Took one for the team there.
Mimics 2, however, went very nice. Ooh. Takes the red Igor. You get that sometimes when you walk up to the skulls after hitting the crystal switch. Unable to avoid it, but is able to get a well. I think it was a little bit high on that dash.
Yeah. But going through the Gauntlet now, which is a series of rooms where you have to kill everything to actually proceed. And the developers decided that it would be a good idea to utilize all of the sprites that they created throughout the game. So you got conveyors, you got Beamos, you got ice, you got it all. What more could you want?
Little bit of a menu hiccup from Kaz, kind of got lost a bit, but gets through the gauntlet pretty cleanly. And now our second Light World boss refight is Land Molas 2. You have a Tempered Sword and a Fire Rod this time, so it's pretty much a joke.
So when do we get to kill Landmo 2 from, like, Hera or something eventually, right? We should be able to do that.
We'll start looking into it tonight.
Okay. Meanwhile, Emo is going to be coming up on her first Light World boss refight. Has plenty of arrows going into the fight. So in case something does go wrong, which we hope does not, we should be able to recover.
Going with 4 up, 2 left, which is... Uh-oh.
Stay on target. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Totally fine. Excellent recovery. It is, yeah, it is so difficult to not just instantly panic there and, you know, just start spaghettiing all over the controller. So, especially when you are on pace, in G Tower, no less, in a race, a tournament race, on speed gaming, just amazing presence of mind there to hang in there and still get the quick kill.
Yes. And still was able to get out of that room in time to not affect the Ganon fight negatively. Kaz, meanwhile, shedding bombs to get the automatic menu. Actually, I don't know why. I guess it shortened his menu on the next. No, I don't know why he shed the bombs.
He'll have a quicker menu in the Ganon fight as a result.
Oh, okay. And our third Light World boss refight, the Moldorm, on a smaller platform, but no center hole. Tempered Sword, though, makes quick work of him. I think I just saw a bow dash from my girl Emo.
You probably did. I saw her practicing it before the race, and I also saw her go for the bow dash on the pod statue, which is a cool strat as well. Throwing in some swag. You got to have some fun with your speedrun, so.
Very nice first room of Gauntlet. Meanwhile, Kaz is on the last of our Light World boss refights, Aghanim 2.
Pretty good pattern here on the first one. Triple. Nice triple. That's a great opener there.
Got 1 on the second. A little bit of trouble in Gauntlet 2 meanwhile, or Gauntlet 3 for Emo. Kaz gets cleans up Aga 2 on the 3rd cycle.
Nice. That looked like a really solid gauntlet overall for Emo. Getting some good Landmo 2 patterns here. Nice 1 cycle. Let's go. And caznode falling into the Ganon fight at 124.38.
Node's not too far off pace either. I don't know that he can... I think it would be like a low one...
Sir? Sir. Man, this is a rough job as a commentator here. We have to talk about it, but we also have to not talk about it. Oh no! No. Oh, the patch bridge! Come on, dude! The bridge. Alright, the developers not being so nice here, throwing in a last-minute patch before this race, obviously on the bridge there.
Node is not going to get the 1-on-1 here, I don't think.
Wow, this is...
He took a hit from the Trident. I don't know if he can get it. Nope.
Nope.
Meanwhile, Emo smartly picking up that heart pot there. Oh!
Oh my goodness.
The loop. Hopefully this isn't the Ganon loop. This fight is very easy because every time that the fight starts over, these fire bats are in a totally different position according to what variable they're going to run off of, and you're going to see patterns that you've never seen and couldn't possibly have practiced.
Yeah, not to mention just the mental effect that it has on you dying to this boss. But it looks like Node has a really good setup here for getting the 1-on-1 this time, so that should boost his confidence a little bit here to finish up the Ganon fight.
Yeah, and he's able to get through phase 2 without taking any damage. Should be good, but...
Nice door dash from Emo. Again, also bouncing back after the mistake. It wasn't really a mistake even necessarily, just getting unfortunately knocked off due to video game on that bridge.
Yeah, Kaz takes a fire bat in phase 3, but gets to phase 4 with 6 hearts.
And 1 hit on Aga 2 for the first cycle here. Looks like 2 in the second. Hopefully I didn't miss a phase here or anything.
Ooh, nothing on the third phase.
There. Yeah, not getting great patterns here. Should be another energy from Aga. There's 2 more.
Want to get a triple here. Okay,
Nice.
We got it.
Meanwhile, Node is finishing up his 12 tempered spins on Ganon here. Should have just a few more to go, trying to get at least 2. You want to get 3 optimally each time you light the torch. Very nicely done. Bouncing back from a few deaths on Ganon, finishing up. Going to be winning this race and moving on to face the top seed X-released. GG to Node.
Yep, with a speed racing time of 1:28 flat. Meanwhile, Emo is entering the Ganon fight. So, takes a hit from the Trident, gets downward facing Ganon. This is not good. She has never practiced that before, I can almost promise.
Yeah, this is definitely a scary position to be in. Yeah, these are the things that you don't... I mean, it's very rare that you ever actually practice these things because it's hard to... Oh, no!
She actually got an RNG that she would have practiced and just probably was not looking for it.
I think the timing was just thrown off ever so slightly there. I think she just hookshotted just a little bit too soon, so the iframes ran out at the last moment and taking a very unfortunate death there. Our hearts go out for sure. That is painful, but still going on here, not giving up. Going to take down this pig no matter what. Oh, like you mentioned, those Ganon bats, yeah, those patterns can be really rough to deal with after you die. But does get out of the first 2 phases here into the 3rd phase, so she should feel a little more comfortable from here on out, especially after you get the torch glitch.
Yeah. It's easy to say from the commentator seat or from hindsight, but probably the smart play actually would have been to just hug Ganon immediately as soon as she got that downward facing pattern, because cleaning up the phase 1 and phase 2 with the unknown patterns was probably going to take more than the 10 seconds that she would have lost from the death. But when you're in the middle of a run, there's no way that you're going to come up with that. But looks like she's going to recover. Got her spins going.
Yeah, looking pretty solid in the execution now of this phase 4. I think she is back on track now. You tend to get into a little bit of a groove once you finally get into this phase and start hitting some spins, so...
Alright, and GG to Emo.
Wow, still going to be really close to her PB as well, but, you know, I know that's got to be disappointing, but still, what a really solid run to crank out, you know, showing off the new glitch in Mire and, you know, being on such an amazing pace, and just really all it was just that unfortunate Ganon death. So very solid run by both runners here, so GG's to both, an excellent show.
Yep.
We'll see if we can get them in here for an interview.
Node has politely declined to pop in, but we'll see if Emo wants to join us. Meanwhile, let's see what lies ahead on the schedule. We're wrapping up the 2nd round of brackets. There are a few 3rd round matches that are coming up. And I know a lot of competitors are actually at RPG limit break, so we're kind of in a lull right now. But let's take a look. Okay, so our next scheduled match is May 19th at 4 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be Christos Owen versus Waffle 42. We'll see that on one of the Speed Gaming networks, I'm sure. And that, I think, is our last 2nd round match.
I think, is Giselle Blunt one of the last 2nd rounds as well?
Giselle and Blunt, and then I forgot ACM and Greffrey. Greffrey's at RPG limit break, so that's going to be delayed a bit.
Yeah, Christos Waffle should be a really, really fantastic matchup. You know, a numpty against breakfast food, can't really go wrong. Looks like Emo is sitting in the setup channel. Let's see if we can pull her in here for an interview. Emo, GG, very nice run.
Yo, thank you. That would have PB'd huge if I hadn't gotten all brain dead on Ganon.
That pace was ridiculous. I mean, that was a heck of a run. I mean, really unfortunate way for it to end up, obviously, but man, were we impressed by some of your gameplay and your reactions, in particular, I think, to all of the things that the game was you know, just avalanching on top of you. I think you handled it really well.
Yo, thank you very much. And I'm, yeah, what's crazy is, like, every run I've done for the last week has been, I don't know, this was about 20 seconds faster than most runs by the time I got to Ganon's Tower. But it's gonna happen soon, the PB. But I was just happy I got the whole Mire stupid glitch to go very sweetly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you both of you guys actually nailed that and showed it off and demonstrated it absolutely perfectly. We couldn't have asked for for a better demonstration of that glitch. So that had to feel really good to get. So were those real golds that you were getting, or had you changed some of the item routing?
No, the item routing is different. So the desert gold that I got is real. The swamp and mire golds are fake. And I actually didn't do the route that I intended to. I had just last night actually switched to doing the like big girl strats, and so I was doing sword climbs up Death Mountain for Ether. But my brain went all sideways, and I like muscle memory fluted to 1. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm getting it now. So
okay, that explains that, because even after you got Ether too, it looks like you were kind of hesitant about, okay, where do I go now? Okay, 4, here we go.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, fine. I guess I'll keep Ice Rod after Mire. I'm just going. It's fine. I'm just going. So it's one of those kind of things. But yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that it had been actually probably about 4 months since I had the opportunity to sit down and watch you do a run, and the improvement that I've seen from then until now has been night and day. So, I saw you came into the tournament with a mid 133. You're down to a 130.33, and you were on high 128 pace, low 129 for a good percentage of that run. So it's any day, it will be coming.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I just need to put the run together and, not biff it on Ganon. But the Ganon fight was weird. Like, I felt like some of my hits must not have counted for some reason during phase 1. Like my pitchfork, my trident spins were hella weird. So I wasn't surprised that at least one of those didn't count, even though I heard the noise. But after the second round, I was surprised that wasn't over. And that kind of threw me off the whole fight for that first fight. So I was like totally off my rocker going into phase 2, and yeah, it took the death, but oh well.
Yeah, but like I said, market improvement over the time here in the tournament, and you haven't. I know that you were doing randomizer before, if I'm correct. But how long? What was your first NMG run? About 6 months ago, 7 months ago?
Something like that. Like probably, I don't know. I probably did a run like last November or something. But definitely in terms of like my level of focus on it, the last like 3 months have been way more intense. It's I don't know, it's interesting with like the randomizer tournament and everything going on. I started in randomizer, but I'm kind of in a phase right now where actual measurable progress and rewards for time put in is pretty dope. So focusing on this run is pretty attractive. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. And yeah, I do hope to see you continue with your progress on this run. It's really been fun watching you and everyone else in the tournament who has made such amazing progress. It's really been enjoyable to watch from my position.
I said when I got when I had like a 137 or something, I said I would feel really happy when I got to 135. So I'll say again that I'll feel really happy when I get the 129, and then I'll see you guys at like 127 or something. This is how it's later. So
yeah, this is how it starts. I said all the same things. I'm like, yep, sub 90 is going to be totally good. I'm totally good with that. Totally stopping right there. Good enough for me, and here I am.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though, and thanks to you guys for commentating and putting on the tournament. Honestly, like it's been a super well run thing, but also like a really great opportunity to get a little bit more into the sort of speedrunning community for the game, and also just an opportunity to do a crap ton of runs and get a lot better. So it's been pretty sweet. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you for participating.
Yep, it definitely wouldn't be anything without the participants. So thank you guys for putting on the show. Thanks to caznode as well. And obviously for Speed Gaming and everyone behind the scenes that are helping make this happen. Shout outs to all of you guys. You're all amazing, and I love you.
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to have a bit of a lull in matches as people kind of trickle in back from RPG Limit Break, but we're going to start seeing some of these round 3 matches come up. And I want you guys to make sure that you are in front of your computer screen or mobile viewing device, because round 3 is shaping up to be something else. You've got matches like X-Release versus Caznode. You got Andy and Joe DeBilio. You're going to have Mike the Viewer versus either ACM or Greffery. You got TGH and Void, and then you're going to have Darkmind Demon versus either Waffle and Christos, and Zero Rush and Gerdo. All of these matches are going to be very tightly contested. You are going to see some very high-level gameplay, and it will be all right here on the Speed Gaming family of networks. So stay tuned. Keep checking the schedule page as we get matches posted, and the finals are not far away. But I think that will wrap it up for us tonight here on Speed Gaming. So again, I want to say congrats to Node for advancing, and congrats to you, Emo, for a tournament well played. And I will look forward to seeing you advance even further the next time somebody is crazy enough to put one of these things on. But with that, I will say good night to my esteemed co-host, Greenham.
Good night, y'all.
And I have been and will continue to be Scrivo. Good night, everybody.